The TOMY Enterprise refit, my thoughts. So the piece itself is beautiful and absolutely worth the price. Now, if you were to take an XL Eagle Moss refit, which I do not have because it's so inaccurate, I want the scale to be right and I want it to be close, but it doesn't have to be like super accurate because in real life things would change. But that Eagle Moss XL refit was bad. I mean, I could see it from a distance, so I didn't buy it. But I do have the original series, Constitution Class Enterprise, and it weighs 12 ounces. I weighed it. It weighs 12 ounces without the base. This thing here weighs about 21 pounds or so, and so if you did the math, it would take about, what, 10 of these to equal out to the weight of one of these. And these go for, you probably, if you watch this channel, you probably are aware how much these go for. Anywhere from one that's opened, that's loose, $75. One in the box is about $100. They may have re-released these. I don't keep up on fan home as much as I used to because they're just reproducing models that I already had or ones that I don't want. But I think I saw where a new one of these might be $80. So you just do the math. 11 of these new with one of these new. This is a good deal. What I'm trying to say, it's a good deal. And then you have these Diamond Select ships, and they were good for what they want. I mean, they came out like the early 2000s. They've been around for a long time. And one of these that's still in the box, which the battery compartment, they came with batteries for the try me function. I'd be worried about the battery compartment being corroded up. But one of these in the box still that somebody has, would be about $100. And these weigh a little bit less than these, and so it would take more of these by weight to make one of these Tomys. What I'm saying is that would be worth it even without the electronics. If this was die cast and plastic only, and by the way, all die cast has some plastic in it. I don't know why people get caught up on that. So I've seen people saying, well, it's supposed to be 15% plastic, and they think it's more. You can tell a large percentage of this is die cast, and that's what they promised. So this was worth it. This was well worth it. I want to talk about the phasers. Carl Tate told me that they chose to only have these two top phasers work, the port side, which is also the left side, which is also the driver's side, and the forward phaser banks to work on the top and the bottom. That's it. And he said that's because that's the only ones you saw work in the movies, and if they were all working randomly, you wouldn't know where to look. It might be confusing, but I gotta be honest, a little disappointed by that reply. If anything, I would at least have these two phaser banks, top and bottom, on this side work too, because of my symmetrical thinking mind. Just at least on the saucer, all of those working. But it is what it is. I mean, if I ever crack it open for some reason, I might run a wire from, like, say, the top one down to the bottom over there. I don't know if these are even real LEDs. They may be just dummies. I know on the bottom, a guy posted a picture where his bottom panel fell off. Which you might think that's awful, but I kind of like that. I wish some of my panels were loose. I haven't checked, so I could look in there and maybe get in there and modify if I want to. But anyway, on the bottom where there is a strobe, one strobe that works down there that's surrounded by 4 different phaser banks, and they don't work. And in the picture, you can see that there's no wires going to those LEDs, and they're just look like they're just round beads. But that that could be rectified in the future if somebody wanted to do it, but mess with it. I don't know. I mean, this thing is so close to being nearly perfect. It's so close to being nearly perfect that doesn't really make sense. It's so close. I don't know if I'm going to ever mess with it, to be honest with you. The phaser banks is one of the things that I was a little disappointed. There's that diagonal crack on the front, which people are saying, well, that's on all of them. It's supposed to be there, but I've seen pictures of people that don't have any diagonal cracks on the front of their saucer at all. Then I've seen some that have 2 or even 3 of the diagonal cracks. So I don't know about that. And I took a magnifying glass and looked at it, and it doesn't look like a clean seam. It looks like a crack. It looks like when they put the 2 saucer halves or something together, too much pressure, and it cracked. Don't know. I would have a better idea if I could open this up. And I have cracked open the Eagle Moss die cast, and they're die cast plastic, and you can do it with a really sharp box cutter type knife. I've used you know, like 4 or 5 tools to get those things open. And I'm working on one when I get time. I'm putting lights in it. And they're pressed together, they're glued together, no screws, which is unfortunate. I wish they didn't use so much glue. You have to dip them in hot water. That softens up the glue, and then you can, you know, take a really sharp knife along the seams and manipulate it to where they get popped up. I'm not prepared to do that, especially since it's got a year warranty on it. And I'm not going to return this for that one crack, even though I don't think it's supposed to be there. I can fix that. I think I can fix it pretty easily. There's guys on social media that are using Vallejo white body putty. You could use white tulip fabric paint. That would probably work. You put it on there, and then you take something and wipe it, so it's it's flush, and let it dry. These power boxes that they run on, there's at the bottom of the base says 5-volt, 2 amp. And that's what we go by. There's people. I think there's some people that are needing attention, that are complaining about the box situation. And I'm not an electric engineer. But I'm sure they had an electrical engineer design this, and it may have been in-house at the factory, because they probably have one who designs these pieces. Maybe there was somebody in Dyersville that designed this, or they hired somebody, but they know more about it than I do. And I don't know why you would hook up anything over 2 amps, because the base says 2 amps. So I'm not going to do it. I know they said up to 2.4 amps. My boxes, I showed you when I unboxed this, it's 1 amp. And somebody said, well, it's going to overheat. I let this run for 30 minutes and it's not overheating. My brother's an electrician, and he told me that, the voltage out of your wall socket, the voltages on these components, they're all a little bit variable. In fact, I have bought enough electronics over the years, like from Amazon. You have guys that will hook these components and devices up to machines and measure their outputs, and then they'll put it on your Amazon reviews. They don't match. They'll hardly ever match. They're really close, though. So the argument, is, why argue about it? Just follow the base. I mean, if you put a 2.4 on there, and if it's off, say 2.5, even though it says 2.4, I mean, why run the risk? And my preference is batteries. I'm probably in the minority. It might be a Gen X thing. I don't know, but I guess it's the best of both worlds to be able to plug it up and then having a power bank. But a power bank is a battery. So, and after my brother told me the voltages and the variances and stuff. Those boxes are made by hundreds of different manufacturers, and I don't know how much you can trust those. I just like batteries. I know you would have had to have a battery box in here, but it's only 5 volts. So what is that? Three. That would have been 3 AAA batteries. So I like batteries. I just good old DC current. With my original series, I can take it and move it around anywhere I want to. And the batteries work. It just works, and it still works great. I changed the batteries in that a couple of months ago, because it's just been. I turn it on like once a month, and maybe when I'm doing a video. I'm not going to run it 24 hours a day, so I don't need it hooked to this cord. And I didn't need to change the batteries. I just did put fresh batteries in it. It wasn't a big deal. And since the saucer doesn't separate on this, which I like the saucer separating on there, I kind of wish this was too, but change batteries is that big a deal. They could have done the same thing with this as they did with that. I just would have preferred batteries myself. You got power surges, storms, power goes out. I'm not going to leave this plugged in all the time. I am not. I'm going to unplug it each time, because I'm not going to run it all the time. They're not going to make any more of these. And I asked Tommy, I said, the ones that are getting returned, I mean, don't throw them in a dumpster. But they haven't replied to me. I think they may be contractually bound to throw them in the dumpster, and I hate to see them throw them away, because they can be fixed. Some people are going to modify these a little bit. I've modified stuff. I painted my shuttles on this original series, Enterprise. I'm going to 3D print auxiliary ships that could buzz around it, and I'm designing a stand. So somebody is probably going to modify these. I mean, I wish this had come with sound, no voices, just sound, and because I mean, that's within the movie. I mean, there's no sound in space, but that was what was in the movie with sounds, I think it would have been cool. On Amazon, there are small little components that you can buy, and you can go to several. There's more than one website where you can freely download Star Trek sounds. You just go to a search engine and put in Star Trek sounds, and you'll find one, and you can download them, and then you can take those and you can load them onto the component that you can buy off of Amazon. I've done it before, and you press the button once and it has a sound. You press it again and it has a different sound. You could time it up with I get weapons button on here, but I don't know if I'll go with that. I mean, I have the Enterprise A of this Diamond Select, and it has nothing but sounds, which I appreciate. And I mean, I could have set it beside it and just hit the top of that, But I'm not really super concerned with sounds, but it would have been really nice. I have the Proton Pack made by Halloween Costumes, and it's pretty sweet. I also have the Haslam Proton Pack. I didn't make a video of the Halloween costumes, just been busy, but the sounds on it aren't quite right. Somebody's come out with a replacement sound card or whatever for the Halloween costumes, and somebody may come out with something like this. Somebody knows more about it. And if they do, I'll probably buy it, because this thing, like I said, it's close to perfect. Mine is. But it's well worth the money. But I would have changed the phasers. I would have had sounds, and that brings me to another subject, which is, if you didn't buy one, how do you get one? Well, with the original one a couple years ago, you could get on a waiting list at their physical brick and mortar store in Dyersville. You could call them and be put on a waiting list. I don't know anybody that got one. They may have. A lot of these, a lot of places will have built-in cushion of replacement units to be sent out for faulty ones. And faulty ones come with everything. There's always going to be something. I bought spark plugs that were bad, from brand new spark plugs. So you could call them and see if they're going to, after all said and done, after the dust settles with replacements, see if they will sell you one. You can go to eBay or some other auction site, or you can find somebody maybe in a Facebook group or Facebook Marketplace and see if somebody's got ones for sale there. Now, the ones on eBay look like they're going for $2,500 to $3,000. If I were going to pay $3,000 for a 1350 refit, I would probably hire somebody to build one for me that was exactly the way I wanted it. And people are going to argue about the price. You just have to find out yourself. What you could do is, there is a Facebook group called Starship Modeler. I've been a member of it for like 15 years, and over and over throughout the years, I've seen guys post their builds of this particular ship. It's the model kit for Polar Lights, and they said it was for a client or a commission, and they're on there, and it's varying degrees of craftsmanship. But and it also depends on what you want. If you want just a static one with no lights, the price is going to be cheaper. If you don't need the pearlescent paint job from the motion picture, and you want a version of the one from the greatest Star Trek movie, Wrath of Khan, the price may be cheaper, because that paint job is there's an art to that. I'm not interested in learning to paint that pearlescent paint job, because this is the only ship I know that's got it. And if you were going to build these all the time, I could see learning that. But or if you love to paint, but I'm just too busy. I build models all the time, and I'm just too busy with that, messing to learn this one technique. Even though that technique you would learn something and you apply it to other things. But if you wanted one with lights in it, and there's varying degrees of lighting systems. I think Trek Modeler, may Boyd rest in peace, he had one with sounds and the startup sequence. You may not want the startup sequence. I really don't. I don't have an affinity to the startup sequence. I've discovered in the past few days, when I come over here and turn this on, I'm standing there waiting for it to start up. And if it's my personal preference is, I just want all the lights come on. Maybe have the warp go off and on. And of course, the phasers and the photon torpedoes, I like for them to fire with a button. But I don't have to have the startup sequence. And I find myself waiting for. It's not that big a deal to stand there and wait for the startup sequence, but my personal preference, I don't need it, not every time. So if I was you, I'd go to Starship Modeler, and they may have a list there. They used to have a list of builders, they used to have a list of bad vendors. So you can go there and you can check and see. At the top of every Facebook page, there is a search bar for that particular Facebook page, and you can, do a keyword search on with the word commission or client or 1350 refit, etc. The kit costs $100. About I've got 2 of them. I'm holding out. I might sell one of them. I'm holding out on one of them to make the Reliant. I'm hoping Tomy will make the Reliant. I'd rather spend the money on a nice Reliant than it's going to take time for me to build it. So the kit will cost $100 approximately, and then the lighting kit could be anywhere from $100 on up. I don't know. Boyd passed away, but somebody else might be running it. There's other people that, and some guys can make their own lighting kit. This is a complicated model. It's got a lot of flashing lights and a lot of little lights and different shades and stuff. So, different modelers will do different things. They'll buy the materials. You pay them, or you just have to bargain with them. So, but for $3,000, you could get something. That's what I'm saying. There's guys that are already making modifications. I've seen where some guys are you could buy little lenses and put on over these spotlights, and they will direct the spotlights up to where it's more accurate as far as the shining on the saucer. I don't know if I'll do that. It looks pretty cool though. It's a pretty cool effect. This has some hidden. There's guys that made videos that has. There's some settings here. I noticed that after you first turn it on, it goes through the startup, and you tap it 3 times. You can adjust the brightness on the inner lighting, and I adjust my brightness to the lowest light, because if it's so bright coming through the windows, it makes it look fake. So I adjusted mine to the dimmest lighting part. I see where one guy had he took the supports out, and when you take the supports out, it leans. So I saw that he made a wedge, a 3D printed a wedge to go underneath the round base that brings it up. So it looks good. It appears that it's more balanced, and the ship is level like it is now. It's level with the supports, but without supports, it leans. So, but the stand that I'm making is going to be, it will hold this up. It will hold this up in the front. There's going to be, a black stand. Part of it's going to be black to match, the blackness of space, but the supports will be gone. I hope it turns out okay. And of course, some people are making space. It's not space dock. It's dry dock. But it's in space. So would it be a dry dock? I mean, would it be a space maintenance dock? But they call it dry dock. Anyway, but I thought about making those, or I thought about making half of it, but it would just cover up the ship. I don't want to cover up the ship. So I seen where one guy put it on a Lazy Susan, which I have a great big one that I used to put wedding cakes on, and it would work good. But it's hooked up by a cord. If you're on Facebook, which I really don't want to be on Facebook, but it is a tool that can be used. You're going to see lots of people complaining, and that's what Facebook is designed for. Almost all social media is designed for enragement, engagement, and I really don't want to partake in that. But there, like on the TOMY, and if you want to buy one of these, you could enter that group. You could join the TOMY Enterprise Owners Group, I think it's called, and then there's the TOMY Plus group. And then, there's some people complaining about I guess it's just their personality, or they just want attention. And I know there's a saying that in an affluent society, boredom tends to sit in. And I've seen some people putting some stuff in there, like, why are you putting it on there? And just like filling up the internet with this crap. But you're going to see a lot of complaining, and but thousands of these were made. I don't remember how many. Was it 6,000 or something like that? 6,000. And thousands of people are happy. But there are dozens on social media that are complaining. But I'm exceedingly happy with mine. There's some nitpicks that I would have done differently. But the next one, I'm going to buy. Depending on what it is. But I did back the D7. I backed the original, or the show version of it. I have the concept version in a 1/1000 model kit. And that's my favorite scale. And of course, this is one of my favorite scales. And I will back the next one, especially if it's the Reliant. So Chris, if you were happen to watch this video, making the Reliant would be the logical thing to do. I've did the calculations, and the Reliant is the most logical next starship from Star Trek for you to do. Nobody's done that. Nobody's done it. You can get a conversion kit for the model kit. You can 3D print one from a file, but nobody's done the Reliant as a mass-produced or, you know, a Kickstarter. So I think that's the way to go. Okay, well, I will have my my stand ready in the next few days. I'm about got it finished designed, and then I had to print it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video. Live prosperly and long.